I'm here to talk about a transformation that we all need, a transformation that's really crucial. And I'm talking about transforming our classrooms and boardrooms. And I'm here to tell you that business simulations and gaming is a great way to produce future-ready leaders. And this may, in fact, be our ticket to producing an economy that works. Let's get started. Can you imagine a world where a doctor starts performing a surgery right after a theory class on human anatomy? No? How about an aeroplane pilot starting to fly a Boeing 747 right after a theory class on aerodynamics? Sounds absurd? It should, because we are talking about complex systems. We are talking about human body. In our earlier presentations, we saw how complex our bodies are. And an airplane has 1 million interconnected parts, and the people who are making decisions on these complex systems, namely the doctors and the pilots, go through enormous amount of training in a safe learning environment. For a doctor, he or she needs to perform surgeries on a cadaver for a long enough time before you actually allow this person to operate a live patient. And similarly, for a pilot, he or she needs to clock enough number of hours on a simulated flight training exercise before he's allowed to man an actual airplane. That makes sense to us? It does. But now let's take another complex system, the global economy. We have interconnected currencies, interconnected economies, value chains that cross over multiple borders, a very, very complex system. But now let's think about the people who are making decisions on this complex system, the managers. Are managers going through a safe learning environment before they start taking decisions? The answer is no. And I believe some of the fundamental problems that we have with our economy today may be the result of poor training and awareness. And in fact, what we are doing today is we are groping this really big, huge, fat black elephant completely blindfolded. This is the best that we have at this point going on for us. And this is why we have these crazy acronyms, TBTF, too big to fail, and TLTF, too late to fix. And it's only after the fact of a crisis that we actually know what happened to us. 2008 crisis happened. It was not until 2010 that we actually figured out, hey, this is what hit us. And before you are ready with an answer for it, the next crisis arrives. So we are in fact running on a treadmill that never stops. And to me, this is not a sustainable way of managing a globalized economy. And added to this, we live in an era of the black swan. The author Nicholas Taleb talks about black swan, and these are these really low probability events that cause these huge impacts, and you are completely caught off guard. And this is reality. And unless we train ourselves in looking at the future, working on our estimations, working on our predictions, we are not going to be able to run this economy in a sustainable fashion. Last year was not a great year for capitalism. US went through huge crisis. Europe went through the same crisis as well. And in September last year, a movement erupted in New York called Occupy Wall Street. A huge, huge problem for our global economy because the confidence of the main street, as they call it, has eroded. Mainly because managers are not making decisions thinking about the global good, thinking about the consequences of the decisions that they take. And this is the problem that we have been solving in the last 3.5 years at KNOLSKAPE. Myself, along with my awesome team sitting out of Bangalore, we call ourselves Knollies. We have been creating experiential software products that will enable managers to become better decision makers. And we've been working with some really top-tier B schools, starting from INSEAD, Kellogg, ISB, NUS in Singapore, to create products that will make managers better decision makers and managers who are future ready, who are confident about the decisions that they take. And this is the work we've been doing. And there is a personal angle to this as well. In 2001, I graduated from my master's program in the US. And I got a job offer at Oracle. And between the time I got my job offer to the minute I actually went into the campus, it was an anxious time for me because my friends had a bad experience. Companies were retracting job offers. It was what Alan Greenspan famously called as irrational exuberance, right? The dot-com bust, that happened. And I was in Silicon Valley at that point. And I thought to myself, what crazy timing to graduate, right? And then I was one of the last few people to get into Oracle, and the entire economy shut down. There was a hiring freeze for almost 18 months. And $5 trillion were wiped out in just 18 months. And I worked for a few years and then decided to get my MBA from INSEAD, a fabulous B school. And I consider myself fortunate for having been admitted into that program. And I graduated from the program. Guess in which year? 2008. Ladies and gentlemen, 2008. And many more trillions of dollars were wiped out that year. And I thought to myself, what impeccable timing. What is it with me and my graduation years? There's some crazy correlation that's happening here. Now you understand it. Now we have a good explanation for it. Great. So a lot of people tell me that don't study anymore. Stop here. Well, that is my personal take on this. I want to solve this problem. I've had the Occupy the Silicon Valley and Occupy the Wall Street moments in my head. Why am I suffering? Why do I have to go through this anxiety? Because someone else is not thinking through global issues. So this has been my effort for the last 3 years. And this is from 2008. We all know what happened. Many trillion dollars got wiped out. And so we are now solving this problem using a slightly non-traditional approach. We are using simulation games and serious games to raise that awareness and to solve this problem of managers not thinking through the decisions that they take. And so, this is what Confucius has to say. I hear and I forget. I see, I remember. And I do, I understand. It is only by doing that you really start to understand the complexities of the big black elephant. And you may be a skeptic here. You may say, how can serious games or simulations really solve problems of the global economy? You must be kidding here. I'll give you a few examples. The CIO of Starbucks is only 32 years old. He is one of the youngest executives in a Fortune 500 company. And when he was asked, where did you get all your leadership skills from? Do you know what he said? He said, I got my leadership skills from World of Warcraft, which is this online game which is extremely popular. And here's an example where somebody getting trained on a virtual environment attains or gains some skill, and this spills over to the real world. And a few weeks ago, in fact, a few months ago, a few gamers actually solved a complex scientific problem with HIV/AIDS, which the scientists themselves were struggling to solve. These gamers solved that puzzle in just 3 weeks. So gaming can solve a lot of problems, including the problems in our global economy. And Jane McGonigal, in her TED Talk, talks about how certain behaviors can be enforced or exposed to the participant in a virtual environment, and that ends up spilling over to the real world over time. This is what we are trying to achieve, bringing in behavioral change through games and hoping for a change in the real world. And there is a very serious problem right here. We don't care anymore about the decisions we take. I'm a professor. I've seen this in the classroom. Boredom is in. Our attention spans are trending towards that of a firefly, right? While I'm talking here, I'm sure there are people out here who are on LinkedIn, Facebook, Twitter. Probably some of you are playing Angry Birds as we speak. So there is a serious attention span problem. And we have seen episodes where managers sitting inside a boardroom are playing paper football or Angry Birds when a serious corporate presentation is happening. When I see these episodes, I ask myself, if these managers really enjoy gaming, why not give them a corporate strategy game? Give them some power, give them an environment where they can exercise their creative capabilities and come up with solutions that nobody has thought of. Why don't we do that? Right? So we believe by engaging the mind and the heart and the hands of the people, a revolution can be made possible. And this is the state of the art today in our education. I'm sure most of you have experienced this. The professor walks inside the classroom, turns his back to the audience, and starts scribbling on the board. And the students dutifully copy this on their notes, reproduce this in the exam. This is our education process. This is far too unidirectional. We talk about wisdom of the crowds. It's not getting used in boardrooms. It's not getting used inside classrooms. This needs to be disrupted. We need a lot more engagement inside the classroom. And we need to appeal to the hearts and hands of people, not just the intellect. And we need safe learning environments for our managers. This is the thought that I started with. Even Sachin Tendulkar needs his nets to hone his skills. And how about our managers who are taking complex decisions on our economy? They need a safe learning environment where they can try and fail some more before they are let loose in the real world. We need that safe environment. And as Malcolm Gladwell talks about in his book Outliers, it is only through deliberate practice over time that you gain mastery over a domain. And our managers need that deliberate practice, and that's what we are providing through our experiential products. This is a classic. Every B school, every professor will tell you that organizational silos are bad. Look at companies out there. The finance department does not know what the accounting department is doing, and the accounting department does not know what the marketing department is doing. We are told silos are bad. But look at the curriculum of a typical B school. I bet that a finance professor does not know what the accounting professor is teaching in his classroom. And the accounting professor does not know what the marketing teacher is teaching in the classroom. And imagine the student who is going through this silo curriculum. When you are sitting in the accounting classroom, you encounter a problem. You look at the problem only from the accounting lens. But we know from the real world, problems don't come in knocking saying, hey, I'm an accounting problem. It is always interconnected. And we are missing that crucial link in our education. We need to create a curriculum, especially games and simulations make this possible, to create an integrated learning experience where you see the cause and effect of your actions. Today, there is a lot of inequality in our education system. The kind of experiences that a Harvard grad gets, a local student may not get. But the thing with global economy is the weakest link can pull the entire system down. So we need to train people alike. We need to give them similar experiences. Fortunately, with initiatives like Khan Academy or MIT Open Courseware, the content has scaled up. Today, anyone, anywhere in the world has access to great content. But the experience has not scaled up. Through gaming, we can scale up the experience as well. We can provide learners around the world the same experience through games and simulations. We all remember the Doordarshan days from the 90s. You remember that revolving logo with that audio track. During those days, if Doordarshan decided to air Chitrahar at 8:30, that was the only option you had. But look at how we consume entertainment today. It is whatever, whenever, and wherever. If you miss a program on TV, you'll catch it on YouTube or on your set-top box. But look at how education is going on today, the process of education. If you miss a lecture at 9 o'clock, you don't get it back. And in an environment where the economy is moving so fast, if the education system is static and is not evolving, you have a big problem. So we need to move education from the Doordarshan days to an era where education is available in a whatever format, whenever format, and wherever. And gaming and simulations are a great way as well. As the economy grows complex, you can add modules into the game to cope up with that complexity and make this learning more dynamic. And I'll show you a few products that we've been working on. This is a simulated assessments in accounting. So here we place the participant in the role of a decision maker and throw a lot of scenarios at him. And assessments are important because we are picking people who are going to be making decisions. And today the state of the art in assessments is multiple choice questions. I'll give you a great example. This is an assessment on leadership. And it goes like this. You are a leader of a small team, and there are two people who don't get well along with each other. What do? Option A, make them sit together, talk it out, and resolve it. Option B, fire both of them. Option C, ignore it. They are adults. They'll deal with it. What would you choose? Fire both of them? You will make an awesome manager. But seriously, what would you choose? A, because if you are sane, you know how to eliminate the wrong options and arrive at the safe sounding answer. And this is how we are assessing our leaders. Very ineffective, right? This is great for assessing knowledge. If you tell him what is E equals is what? MC cube, MC square, MC. If the person knows it, he knows the answer. But it is not great for assessing skills, which is where simulations come into play. You place the participant in the role of a decision maker, and you see how he responds. And the results you will get are far more accurate. And this is a product that we co-developed with INSEAD, with Professors Paddy Padmanabhan and Pushan Dutt. And this is a product where managers start to experience a crisis environment. And you see different things breaking down, and you make decisions across different sectors, durables, semi-durables, non-durable services, and you do it across different countries. And the data that you're seeing here is all coming from the real world. So you are preparing managers for that crisis, and in an environment which is safe. You can make all your mistakes here, but please don't make that mistake outside in the real world. That's the plea that we have. And there are things like change management and risk management where I could stand here, give you a lecture on what Philip Kotler thinks about change. You will understand it, no doubt. But if you have a change management issue, you will not know where to start. For that, you need to experience it, right? So that's what we do here with some of the products in risk management and change management. We put the participant in the shoes of a decision maker, and we see how they respond. And the results have been fabulous. This goes back to the suggestion I got earlier not to continue my education. In fact, when I graduated from INSEAD, my dad, who is here in the audience, came up to me and said, "Son, I'm really proud of you. You've done your bachelor's, you've done your master's in computer science, now you're done with your MBA. When are you doing your PhD?" Spoken like a true South Indian dad. To which I said, unless we really solve this problem where managers are future ready and we give them confidence to think about the consequences of the decisions they take, I'm not really ready to do my PhD, because if I end up doing one, it could just be the end of the world. So I'd like to leave you with this thought. Thank you so much for the opportunity.